Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Veterans Show. We are live on Facebook, Instagram, and also now posting on Roku. And we would like to um, welcome those who are on our military bases who are now joining us, and they requested for us to switch our format to be more on the cell phone. So this is something we're trying out today. So please let us know how this works out for you. So you guys wanted to say thank you to Gary and to Rod for making the request and for bringing those active duty military on our show. But I would like to bring our first guest. Our first guest is our legal segment, Kelly Bagla. Kelly is the best legal attorney you can ever find, a best business attorney you can ever find. She is really down to earth. She breaks down the law in a simple way that everyone can understand and kind of gives you guidance on so many different topics. So I rely on Kelly for all the different legal questions that we have, and of course we send our friends and members to get her advice. So I would like to kind of welcome Kelly to the show. Hi, Kelly.
Hello, Joe.
Welcome.
Happy New Year. Love to be back on the show with you guys.
Absolutely, 2024 is a great. It's looking great.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. And I know before we get started, we have a disclaimer that we like to do.
Correct. Yes. As an attorney, as you very well know, any information that I share on the show is only for informational purposes and it does not create an attorney client relationship or privilege.
Excellent. Thank you. And today we're gonna. Today we're gonna. So we selected the topic of doing. Talking about the trust, the real property trust, which is under the Housing for Heroes program. Which as a request from you, I also would like to do a disclaimer that the chamber is not in the business of real estate selling or producing or anything like that. And everything that we do is just for educational purposes only, and to bring people together and to facilitate the networking of brokers and agents and lenders. But we do not participate in any part of the process. So your disclaimer follows my disclaimer follows your disclaimer. So we're fully disclaimed now.
Excellent.
So we posted a few topics before, and one of the main topics, and well, first, why we doing this? Well, why we setting up, and why um, you know Kelly has been instrumental in this process. But at first, when the issues came up, and we started facing the challenges of people getting homes. As a veteran, we feel like every military family, every veteran should own their own home. Owning your own home is the foundation of a family. So the question was, how do we do this? So talking, in length with Kelly, and going to different brainstorming ideas. We came up with the house sharing, which is basically how do you set up a family that everyone within the family and or relatives or friends can come together to support the purchase of a home. So that kind of comes out to be our first question, Kelly. So how do we set up the family trust when families come together to purchase a home? And also the second question is, what is the difference between this setup in or the relationship or the charitable trust?
Perfect. When it comes to setting up trusts, Joe, there are various types of different trusts, setups themselves, the different processes for setting up these trusts, and the different outcomes as well for what these trusts really accomplish for the individuals that are creating them. Now, when it comes to a family that, so for example, and let's just give you an example of a couple, let's just say husband and wife, we'll call them Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill are Jack is a firefighter and Jill is a nurse, and they've had a military background, and they are working consistently. Both of them are working, and they actually would like to now purchase a home. They have great jobs. They would like to purchase a home. However, they do not either for some reason qualify for a traditional loan, or they do but they have to put some money down. Now this is where the real property fund really comes in, Joe. This is I think you're creating what you've done with this fund. You're creating a independence. You're creating freedom for these individuals that could never ever even think about owning real property. Real property is literally is the American dream, right, Joe? Everyone wants to own real property because that's the only asset that grows over time, and it's usually the biggest assets that people own. So when you are going to purchase a home and you need assistance, say from family members, let's go family and friends. And so family and friends, you could go to them and say, I need maybe let's say 20% down to purchase this home, right? So can you either loan me the money, or can we purchase this home together where your money is protected as the equity in the property goes up? So there would be an agreement put together. I would rather set this up as an LLC investment rather than a family trust. So eventually all of the assets of the LLC, or the ownership of the LLC would go into a family trust for that couple, because they would own ownership of that LLC as well. And plus, they own a home, which obviously would need to be put in a trust so they can avoid probate. Now, the family members, it's really it's as if they were going to come together and become business partners and business owners. That's how we would treat this, and it is a business transaction. So we would set up the LLC. We would obviously create a living trust for the family itself as well, and the members, and then also there would be documentation stating that the families and friends investments into the home would be protected as well. So it's a very it's a straightforward, legitimate business deal that is open to all families, open to all members that want to help their families to become independent and actually become property owners, homeowners as well. Hope that answered the first part of the question.
It sure did. It sure did. Now, in um, a side note of that, um, and this was as a question that also was asked in one of our meetings, is that okay? So we want to participate and help Jack and Jill purchase their home, and they're asking about $10,000, so something small, 5,000, $10,000 to do that. Not everyone in the family and also in the circle of friends had the money set up at one point. So I'll say, well, this is a good question because I can run this by Kelly, because what we brainstorm is to, well, what if we, as the fund, as the real property fund, um, each individual member can give to the fund $100 a month, instead of having the whole bulk of dollars coming in at one time. So, well, you don't have to do that. We can just, if this is, then you can do $100 a month. Almost anybody can do $100 a month. You know, nowadays is less than going out one time. It costs more to go out one time than, so $100 a month is doable, rather than forcing them to have a $10,000 in that. So that was the kind of the solution I came up with. But I wanted to run this by you and get your opinion.
Of course. That would be ideal, Joe, in a situation where monthly payments could be made, for example, towards a down payment of 20%, right? I'm using the
Right.
20%. It could be 10%. We're just using the higher percentage here. But to purchase a home, some sort of down payment must be made. I would suggest, because of paying the monthly, I would suggest for family members or friends that don't have the investment money that they want to put in, to maybe go out and get a loan, and then they can pay on the loan themselves. At least their investment is made and it's in. Because as you're paying towards 100 a month, 100 a month, trying to catch up, because of the deal, because of the purchase of real property, it's not set up to be acceptable on a monthly basis. That's what I would recommend. It would be
Right.
easier for all parties, even the person that's trying to invest in the business, which is fantastic. I would say get a loan. Interest rates are pretty minimal right now, and that way at least you're fully vested, but yet you can still keep paying on the loan that you just paid for.
And that's a really good option because the other part was um, and I mentioned this to you before. You know, the people who are investing money in life insurance like IULs, they have access to the dollars at basically zero interest. And so, and we can talk about that in the next show because there is so many different ways that we can slice the pie to make sure that Jack and Jill get the benefit, whether it's for the down payment or to help them make mortgage payments for the next 5, 10 years. So there's different options that we can go. Again, different ways we can slice the pie because this program, the objective of the program is to make sure that Jack and Jill do reach the American dream and getting the foundation for their family. So yeah, that's great, and we can cover that on the next session. So what about the second part of the question? What do you think?
Yes. So a having an actual real trust versus a charitable trust. Charitable trusts are exactly that. You set up a trust that is only based for charities. So if you dedicate this trust, for example, we set up a trust, it's going to be charitable trust, and we're going to say this money in this fund is only going to be used for military, both active and veterans. So that's what we're going to use as our target market. Now you can use that money from the charitable trust to fund any of these um, ventures, either give scholarships out. There's so much that you can do with a charitable fund. However, the biggest thing that you need to understand is if you put real property into a charitable fund, you cannot take that property out. That property now belongs to that fund, that charitable fund, which is really treated more like a non-profit, so to speak. So now,
Right.
once the fund, you want to say now close the fund out, you cannot transfer that property back into your name. That property has to be transferred to another charitable fund that is doing
Mm,
similar
okay.
services as well. So keep that in mind.
So it becomes an asset of the trust.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, so that's a really interesting point because let's say we do set up a portion of this program as a charitable trust, then if we can focus one of the part of it as the helping these military families on the down payment side and setting up the other part for the assistance on the investment for the mortgage payment side. And so now, quick question. So if we have if the fund is investing on Jack and Jill on this on the difference on the equity, can the trust also gain a percentage of that investment? Is that
Yes.
possible? Yes.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, and then that percentage when, exchanged for cash for
Hmm.
monetization, that would go into the charitable fund, and now the charitable fund has just accumulated more assets. Exactly. It's a
Right.
hamster wheel. Yes, exactly,
Well,
Joe.
that's why I so admire you for all the things that you know and do, because what you just you open up another window of opportunity. If the real property fund helps military families do the mortgage payment for 5 years, then the charitable fund can also go and fundraise to gather money to assist people on the down payment, and then that money gets paid back for the trust. And we don't have to take ownership of the property, but we can just build more and to help more and more families with that down payment, and then get back money as they pay back.
Absolutely, Joe. And keep in mind, too, you've heard of uh, Tower to Tunnels. You've heard of Tower to Tunnels, the nonprofit where Frank goes in and he actually buys a house for military families that have lost a loved one, have lost the main person. Either they've come back as disabled and what have you. So he actually goes in and he
Hmm.
buys homes and again for anyone, Joe, for anyone, male, female, you know, owning a home, having your own piece of heaven, being able to go home at night, right? And closing the door
Hmm.
and saying, this is my piece of heaven. This is where I live. It's just there's no match to that. There's no feeling greater than that, Joe. And every veteran and active duty, at least veterans, right? They all they must own property. They've given their entire life to us, and that's the least that we can give back to them. So this is very similar program, but absolutely we're setting it up on a basis where this could be it's a model that could be recreated, Joe. So it's not just for California, right? It can be
Correct.
nationwide now. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Kelly, because this clarifies so many different ways, so many different things, and so many different um, venues or options that we can take this to benefit. Because you're totally right, and I have the same feeling, the same emotion, because I think everyone should own their own home. Is the foundation of family, and keeping family strong. Strong families create strong communities, and it's just we're so in line with that.
Yes.
So thank you so very much, and time goes so fast.
It truly does, Joe.
So we will come back and do the second section, and pick up another topic that is in line with this program, and then kind of continue our efforts and getting more and more support and assistance on setting up the fund the right way. So
Excellent. And I will have some um, I'll have some information to share next time too, based on what resources does an individual have, maybe from retirement accounts or what have you, that they can
mm,
utilize towards real property. So that will be a fun discussion as well.
that's an excellent discussion. And let's set it up for next time. We'll talk about
Perfect.
that, and then and that's very important, very important, because
Yes.
again, this is outside of the box thinking. Is not your conventional way, because things are no longer conventional. So we got to be thinking outside the box. So thank you very much, Kelly. I know you're busy. I'll let you go, and then I'll see you next month.
You got it. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you, Kelly. So now we have our next guest on the show. Her name is Bimbo, and she is a um, amazing person. She has the heart of a true entrepreneur, and also a she runs a nonprofit. She works with organizations not only in the United States but also in Zimbabwe. She is former administrator, principal of a school for 5 years, but she's passionate about teaching other, especially women, on how to avoid burnout. And that was kind of interesting point on why burnout, and and I know people in jobs get burnout, but never really thought about it. So I'm gonna bring her in. So tell us about
Hello.
how you doing, Bimbo?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Joe, for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh, it is truly my pleasure. And so there's two things I wanted to kind of chat with you. One is about the burnout, and also about your experience, because you're also connected to the military. So we'd like to hear about that. And I know,
Yes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, please. Go ahead and let us know how you are connected to the military, and then I'll ask a few questions that I have lined up.
Perfect. So, yes, as Joe said, I'm Bimbo. I work as the director of a nonprofit, and we work in Zimbabwe, but I live in the US. I am married to a wonderful man. His name is David. He is in the Navy, he is in submarines. And so he is active duty. And we are currently in DC as of just a few months ago. So we have recently PCSed. If you are in the military community, you know that means you pack all your stuff up in a truck and you drive across the country. So we went from one Washington to another. We just came from being stationed out in Washington State, and now we are actually in DC. And so I've worked in education. Like I said, right now I work for a nonprofit that is also still connected to education. But in my heart, as I've become a military spouse, I've shared that passion through speaking and just different avenues, educating others, as you said, about burnout, because there are very specific challenges that military families face that I had no idea until I married someone in the military. As you mentioned, I've been an elementary school principal, and I had students in my school whose parents were in the military, and I just had no idea what kind of challenges they faced at home until that became my home and I was married to
Mm.
someone in the military. And so because it's my community, I share my gifts and what I'm passionate about, which is wellness, recovering from burnout, preventing burnout, how to build community, all of those things and how they work together to help strengthen individuals. So that's a little bit about me.
So, well, thank you. And
Yeah.
what are the steps? What do you do to help someone with burnout? Yeah, what do you do? Was your process?
So, speaking specifically about working with the military community and military spouses, I think the first step is identifying what the source of the burnout is. So, I've learned a lot about what challenges other military families are facing. Military One Source is a great resource for statistics on some of those specific military challenges. So, things such as like 28% of military families have experienced a PCS in the last year. So that's a
Mm,
huge percentage of people that I talk to. I meet every day. We live on a base. I talk to these people, and lots of us have moved recently. So that is a major stressor. And that's something where if you've ever moved, unpacking boxes, packing boxes, throwing things away, taking them to, thrift stores, whatever, that could be a source of stress. Another source of stress that's common with military spouses is 21% are unemployed. And these are statistics from 2021, but they are still current today, last I checked. And so I think the first key to addressing something like burnout is identifying what the issue is, because some spouses are facing issues, or families or military members themselves, even if they're unmarried, may be facing issues such as, struggling with finances or managing a household or being employed or trying to, contribute in whatever way. So whenever I'm working with a group or planning a talk, I want to know, who am I speaking to? Am I speaking to stressed out mothers? Am I speaking to single people who are stressed out, military members themselves who need help managing the burnout and the tasks of the day? Something that's also unique to people in the military community is sometimes your spouse is gone for months on end. And we know that 74% of military spouses, once again, according to Military One Source, they have a spouse that's deployed 30 days or more. And my husband goes on submarines sometimes, and he's gone for a long time. So when I'm working with people, the first thing to identify is, what is it you're stressed about? Are you missing your spouse? Is that something we need to work on building a plan for how you can connect to the community? Or are you unemployed, or are you searching for, I work remote. I'm the director of a nonprofit, so I get to work remote, but are you searching for employment? What resources are available to you? Because one thing I've realized, especially even living on a base for the first time in my life, is sometimes there's so many resources, but people just don't even know how to access them. And they're so burned out, they don't even know where to start. They're overwhelmed. They have a kid crying. Their husband is on deployment. They want to make friends, but they don't have time, and they're worried about finances. So I find usually the key first is to say, what is your biggest stressor that you're aware of? And usually from that, you find that there are other stressors that come out of that. So it may start with, I'm stressed about finances, but underlying, you might see as you talk to them, oh, they really want to be employed. Maybe they haven't been able to find employment because of moving so much, or they need childcare. What resources are available? And so I like to think when I'm trying to help other military spouses, I don't want to just say, let's focus on self care and go take a bubble bath and buy yourself flowers and listen to calming music. Those are all wonderful things. Take your bubble bath, listen to
Absolutely.
music. Yeah, those are wonderful. But let's make sure that we get to the root of the problem as well. And those other things, you can enjoy your bubble bath when you know that you have solutions for your problems. So
Right.
that's how I like to address it.
Oh, that's very, very important. And understanding the military and knowing, and I tell people this, all the time that, as the veteran going into the military, but we don't go alone. We really drag our family along. And
Yeah.
and it's in the case, the veteran, in the case, my case, the guy veteran, and then
Hmm.
we get busy. We are in the command, and they're taking us different places, stuff like that. We are busy, right? But it's our wives at home who are don't have the structure that we are forced to have. But so it's in many times don't realize the impact that that has on our spouses. So what you're doing is really lifting people up and kind of clearing the path so people understand that that there is there is a new structure, there's a new way of doing things, and having you as a support unit is critical. I think it's critical for military families because again, when we see them again is after they leave the military and become veterans, that they also see a different challenge. So there is challenges in and there is challenges out. So, but
Hmm.
like you said, so because there's a lot of resources. I mean, we're one of them as a chamber, but we also have the 0800, the 211, and it's just a lot of them. But you're totally right. When we are frustrated, when we are in the hole, we don't see the exit. So
Hmm.
unless someone is really holding us, and step by step and walking us through the process, we
Right.
really don't see the way out. And
Right.
so I'm really thankful that you do what you do to
Thank
support our
you.
military families. Very, very important. Anything that the chamber can do to support, please let us know. And
Okay. Thank you.
since you do work online, uh, do you also connect with other military spouses somewhere else across the nation, or you focus in your base only?
Usually, I try to pour into the community where I am physically. I have been involved in some, um, different online events with military spouses that are a little further away, but it tends to be places I've lived where I've known
Mm.
people personally. So DC is like every branch is here, every type of military service government person lives in and around DC. So it's beyond just my base. I have other people I communicate with, and I found that social media has really helped to build a network as well, because there are a lot of military spouses that have different pages and have different causes. And, some are dedicated to education, some are dedicated to creating community. So a little bit of both, but I would say my primary focus and the groups that I speak to or I'm connected to tend to be locally, and I try to give where I live, is how I think of it. Yeah.
Okay. No, that makes sense. That we keep them more closer to you and be able to connect face to face, which is very, very
Yes.
important. That's
Yes.
all.
Yes.
Anything that the chamber can do to support, If there is anything that you would like for us to support or to help with, what would it be? If you
I
can.
would say I think just continuing to bring awareness to the fact that, as you mentioned, when someone is in the military, it's really important to support the people supporting them.
Right,
And so just bringing awareness to that and helping people know you're not alone. There are resources. You guys were talking about home buying and all of these different things. I know sometimes even I get overwhelmed. I'm like, oh, we can access that because my husband's in the military. Oh, that's something I have access to. I was looking to get a certain certification for my speaking, and I found out that there were funds available to me because I'm a military spouse. And that's just one way that, we can't pay everyone in the military $1 million to serve, but
right,
we can help their spouses, their family, their children, all of the people connected to them to have it somewhat easier, knowing that there is a sacrifice on the other end. And so
right,
I think just bringing awareness to the fact that I think, unfortunately, in the aftermath of the pandemic and all of the way things have been in the last few years, I do think a lot of people are burned out and isolated. And so now, as we are coming out of that and trying to figure out what life looks like beyond that, um, I would just encourage anyone, if you are a military spouse listening to this, go to the events on your base, go and connect with other military spouses. A couple days ago, we had a snow day here in DC. So
mhm,
everything was kind of shut down, the local schools. And I kind of forced my husband he was working from home. So I forced him to bake cookies with me. And we took cookies to our three neighbors around. And it was kind of silly. And I've never done anything like it before. But I kind of am encouraging other people to go out of their comfort zone and meet their neighbors and go to the events that, Blue Star Family or other organizations, Hiring Our Heroes. There are a lot of organizations that support military, active duty veterans and their spouses. And so I thought I should take a little bit of my own advice and go out and meet my neighbors because that's what it starts with. So I think you guys are
absolutely.
doing an amazing job of bringing awareness to issues that face veterans and people in our service, in the armed forces. And yeah, that's all we can do is just keep educating and advocating for that.
That's true. And they said 90% is being there. And I strongly
Yes.
believe that. So just by
Yeah.
us being there, either through the radio show, through social media, we do have incubators for military spouses on how to start a business, how to work from home. So
Yes.
all those resources are available. And by the way, we are the only chamber who charges no fee to be part of the chamber.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we wanted from the beginning to make a free of charge to our military. And for
Mm.
us, the veteran is a member, the spouses are members, the children are members, and the
Oh.
parents of are also members.
Oh,
The parents,
wow.
so because it is a family affair.
Mm-hmm.
For us, a family for us is number one.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why we do the homes because family is home is where the family is and family is where the home
Right.
is. So
Right.
it's very very important. And extended family is key, even though we
Mm.
in the 70s and 80s people try to tell us that is not true, but we see the difference. It is true.
Yes.
Grandparents are raising children. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
extended family are key. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we honor that. So that's something we're happy to do.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank you for
Thank
participating
you.
and being a guest on the show. We would
Yeah.
love to bring you back and see
Yes.
what else you're doing. And
Yeah.
so just let us know when you're available. We'll put you in the schedule, and and bring you back to share us an update on your new home in Washington D.C.
Sounds good. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for having me. Thank you.
a pleasure, a pleasure. We'll talk
Thanks.
soon.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Thank you very much for attending our radio show today. Today we had the legal segment, and we also talked to Bimbo, who is a school administrator, military spouse, helping other military families eliminate or reduce or um, deal with possible burnout. We want to thank everyone. We want to thank our um, team, which is Tammy, which is our producer, Dali, our host, Shelly, our host, our directors, which is legal segment, is Kelly Bagla, our transitioning segment, which is Gary, and we want to thank everyone for their participation to make this show possible. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time. We run the show every first and third Friday of the month at 1:30 p.m. California time. Thank you and have a great weekend.